Welcome to Brobench videos. In this video, we're going to go through formula columns in Brobench soql query. So think of a situation, where you have some data, you want to compare some data, or you want to make some changes to the particular data and see what the new values look like, and as part of the query. You cannot do a lot of things that in Salesforce unless you go ahead and create a new formula column and then deploy it and all that. So, I mean, and even then you have some limitations. For example, let's say if you want to compare two different columns, or if you want to use, the long text area fields, if you want to search for some text within that long text area. So those are some of the limitations you cannot do in the Salesforce formula. And also the situations where you're looking for something to query, at runtime dynamically without having to go through the hassle of creating a new field and deploying so on and so forth. So that is where the Brobench, the formula columns in the query can become very useful. So this particular capability of specifying the formulas is available in the Enterprise Edition. Uh, so here we have a simple soql statement. I'm selecting shipping street and the billing street. Okay, so I'm going to go and specify that. What if I want to compare um, these two columns and add a new column that says, if it is true or false. Okay, so if it is true, if it is same, the false if it is not. Okay, but yeah, so you can export all of this data to Google Sheet and add a formula there. It works fine. Uh, but it takes time to do that. You have to export it and do all of that. So instead, the Brobench allows you to specify the formula columns right here. So you can specify as any other field, okay? So, but you enclose or wrap the logic between two curly braces like this, okay? So specify two curly brace, and then this is where you specify the formula expression. Uh, so whatever the formula that you wanna use, and then you can make use of it. And then you can specify optionally return type, okay, uh, or and then you can specify an alias. Okay, so this is the general syntax. So this is the formula. So this is the required bits, and everything else is optional. And then you specify the formula here, and then you can make use of it. So let's see if we can use this to compare these two and display some results. Let's say I'm going to type shipping street. Okay, I'm going to use a function. Okay, I can go ahead and run this. So we are comparing if these two are same, and then output true, otherwise false. So I can execute it. So you can see that it has created a new alias column or a new column here. Okay, so called formula one. That's the first formula in the query. And also to distinguish this between other columns, right? So that we prefix that with the underscore. So you know that, hey, this is not a standard column that come from Salesforce by looking at it. Okay. So you can see that, it has compared these two, and then this is blank or a null, and this is a not null value. And so formula, if it is equal, they're not the same, hence it is false. Similarly, these two looks like they are the same value, okay, these two, and hence the value is true. And in this instance, it's both of them are blank, so they are kind of same, so it is output as true. Okay, so you can see that it added columns. So you can go ahead and specify the alias if you want a more descriptive column, if you are exporting and whatever. So you may want to add a column, or if you have a multiples, just to give a more sense of what it is. So you can specify like this. Okay, so you can see that he's treat same, and then you have an underscore, and then it gives the same data. Okay. Let's say you can go and add more formula fields. For example, let's say I want to add, let's say shipping street. I want to convert this into uppercase. Okay, let's say billing street. Okay, so you can say up bill. Okay, so we can see that. So now it has evaluated and it is given a uppercase billing street. So if you're by default, the data type for this is a string. Okay, so that's what it used by default. So which is fine most of the time. But however, sometimes when you are, let's say you are really adding, you are generating a date and time value. So you may want to specify that you are dealing with a date and time so that you can get the advantage of Brobench converting that into a local time zone and display the data. For example, let's say I'm selecting created date. Okay, so I want to generate a new column with a created date with a few minutes added to created date. For example, let's say add a date. Okay, so created date. So you want to add one day to that. Okay, by default it is a day. And then you can run this column. So you can see that it is a created date, and then it is September 1, and then GMT time is 9:01. Okay, so let's go and specify. Okay, so maybe it is the day, I think the unit. Okay, yeah, so it added the unit here. It is, see this, so this is a September 2024, September 9th, September 1st, and he just made it a September 2nd. Okay, similarly, you can see that March 13, it's a March 14. So it added a day to the particular date that we fed in. But if you can notice that it didn't recognize this as a date because it's just a string, so we wouldn't know that the grid displayed this in a date and time format, because remember the formula is no metadata is available in Salesforce for this particular formula. So we're just assuming it is string. So you can override it and specify data type, return type of this formula. For example, let's say you can specify that with colon and then date and time. Okay, so look at the documentation to see what are the list of data types you can specify like this. Now, if you go and run it, so it treats this as a date and time, and you can see that it is actually converted into your local time zone for it to view. So in this case, it treats that as a date and time, and when you pop over, it also shows the relative and other time zone information for that particular date and time. Okay, so just to recap, so you specify the formula um, with the two curly braces. Just for the technically savvy, this particular syntax, so this is a common syntax that is used in many of the other libraries and the services. So it's called a mustache syntax. So that's why it is two curly braces. The reason is that there is a chance that this particular the combination of two open curly braces and two end curly braces being part of your data is very minimal. That's why I think that is a safe one to use it. That's what it is. So you just need that particular the expression, the this one on the expression specified there to use a formula. Or you can go ahead and specify the alias, as this one. Let's say date converted. Okay, let's say we want to convert it, format date. Just want to show it as a date, and then you can specify the date and time as the date for us in this instance. So when you convert it, so it just puts the date here, and then it formats it as a date. So if you don't specify the return type, in this case, it would just treat that as a string. In this case, by default, it is ISO format. But if you format it or specify that the formula returns date, then you can see that it is recognizing that as a date and formatting according to your conventions. Okay. So that is about the formula columns in soql data grid. So this opens up a lot of capabilities, many times which you cannot do otherwise in Salesforce, or you cannot do with this kind of convenience to get the data out. So we and especially with the kind of formula support, the formula functions support that we have, it is actually very easy to really get the data out of implement the logic to quickly evaluate and see the data. And the fact that actually you can this query is saved here, and they can just run any time and you get the data. So uh, that is uh, that is convenient, right? I mean, otherwise you would have to export the data, apply the formula again and again to see that updated data. And here it's in the text format, and then you can run it, and then you'll be able to see it. Uh, the the Now coming to the formula itself, so we have an extensive capability of what you can do within the formulas. For example, if you go to help.datasert.com and Brobench, here if you navigate to the formulas, and we have some information here, how to use the formula engine. So this is based on similar to the syntax as a JavaScript subset of the JavaScript syntax. So it's pretty easy to get straightforward, and we have a lot of examples here. And then we have a quite extensive set of formula functions that you can make use of. Okay, you can dictate, you can format it, you can check if it has a particular prefix, you can fill it, you can parse the JSON, parse HTML to extract whatever the information that you're looking for. So there's a whole bunch of stuff you can do. So go through these formula functions, and then go through the video that gives how to use this formula function documentation. And here, as examples, you can try it out, and then you can see. Okay, so you can evaluate it right here. Okay, and then see the results, right? As you're as you evaluate, you can check the you can try out new formulas without having to leave this particular playground. Or if you want a full-fledged the playground ID kind of interface, you can go to this formula playground, click on this formula playground, it brings up to this particular formula. So where you will be able to use this and including feeding the data to see what the output looks like. Okay. So I hope you guys like this particular capability, and then let us know how we can make this particular easy to understand, maybe with more examples and what have you. Okay, thank you.